I saw it and I didn't like it. And I stayed in it because I felt like I needed them. And that's part of it. I think with a lot of extension companies out there, they really do make you feel like you need their brand in order to be successful.
Hello and welcome to the Elevate podcast. I'm your host, Patricia Nowakowski. I'm a salon owner, educator, mindset, and leadership coach that helps salon owners go from overwhelmed and burnt out to motivated and empowered. It is my mission to help you systemize your business, generate more profit, and create a career that you love. Join us every week to learn about the small shifts you can make to elevate your business regarding mindset, marketing, social media, business systems, and so much more. So I'm so excited today for this podcast. On today's podcast, we're going to have Christy Stewart. Christy Stewart is a salon owner, a business coach, and an educator, and she primarily focuses in on extensions. And I'm very, very, very excited to have this conversation. We're going to talk about all things extension focused and what is happening in our industry in this area. Thank you so much for being on today's podcast. I want you to just take a moment to introduce yourself and give everybody a little insight to who you are and what you do.
Hi, my name is Christy Stewart, and I own Refinery 208 Salon in Phoenix, Arizona with my business partner, Nicole. And we created the Refinery Method hair extensions. And I'm also a coach for Destroy the Hairdresser.
So exciting. We both coach for Destroy the Hairdresser.
We do.
Christy and I went through the program. I coached with them for about 2 years, roughly. How long did you coach? 2 years?
2 years. Yeah.
What was the push for you to want to become a coach? I always like to talk and share about that too.
I always wanted to be a coach. Before I even joined coaching, it was something that I always was on my radar and I wanted to do, but I knew that I needed to learn a lot more before I did it. And the whole premise of Destroy the Hairdresser and their foundations and everything and emotional intelligence is what drew me in. And then when I got coaching with Sid, I had so many steps to take in order to get my business to where I needed it to be, to where I could add coaching onto my plate. And Sid told me that. She was like, "You're not ready." I said, "You're right." So when I was ready, then we took the leap, but I always knew I wanted to be a coach, and it's so much fun.
Yeah, I love coaching. It's very rewarding. It's probably one of the most fulfilling things I do for myself. And it's probably my favorite part of my business.
Same.
So you and I met before DTH. We met when we were both taking a very intense extension course and mastermind. And inside of that course and mastermind, we really connected. And I was just talking to my friend Shelly earlier today, and all of the connections that I made in that group that I have just kept and that I feel like are lifelong was probably one of the best things that I got out of that entire experience. I mean, the education I got was amazing as well, but the connections were just so incredible. So I wanted to chat today about just the extension part of our industry, because I feel like it's so competitive. And I feel like there's a lot of bullying in this area of the industry. And I feel like this is one of the services that can absolutely change a salon owner's life, because it is a higher ticket service if you are doing it right with the hair and the service in itself. And it's one of those things where you can generate a lot of revenue and a lot of cash flow for your business that really makes up for times now that a lot of salon owners are very, very slow. I even know that we are super slow too. And having that extra revenue from the extension services has saved my business even through COVID. I want you to start off with your experience getting into the extension realm. And then after we talk about that, I want to chat about the competitiveness that we have both experienced inside of this part of the industry.
I got into extensions early in my career, kind of by a fluke, and I set them down for about 5 or 6 years because at that time, the only thing that was offered were the individual beaded, the little shrinkies or keratin, K-tips, all that fusion. There's a bunch of different methods out there, but that was really all that was on the market in the early 2000s. And it was such a extensive, exhausting process. And I wasn't a fan of what it did to the hair. I wasn't a fan of the clientele at the time, to be fair. And I was going through a lot of stuff. So I was like, you know what, I'm just going to set this aside. And if extensions is something that I want to revisit, I've already been trained. And then the extension world changed. And my business partner is the one who discovered the first extension company we became a part of. And I immediately thought it was all fake until I got into it. And I dove in, I went to the class, and it was great because they added business in there with it. And I loved that. And it completely changed my life. I went from working 10 to 12-hour days, 5 to 6 days a week, down to working 3 to 4 from like 9 to 5 and not doing weekends. And now I'm down to 2. And since I got into it, we were in a suite, and then we moved and owned our own salon suites. And now we own our own salon. And to be fair, there's no way we could have done any of this if we were not extension artists. So and you're right, being an extension artist as well as an owner of an extension-based salon, COVID did not hurt us at all because women are going to pay for their hair. It's kind of a non-negotiable, kind of like food and air, I think, to a lot of women, and they will make it work. So we haven't seen a dip in anything. In fact, we've seen actually an increase in business. So I absolutely love it. And I'm like you, that when we got into this, I got into it almost 7 years ago. The connections that I've made have been invaluable and so amazing. Like, oh my gosh, because we're on, I'm in Arizona and you're in Chicago. And how many people do we know that are all over the country? And we stay in contact with them. And it's so cool.
So many. California, I mean, everywhere. It's insane. Yes. And I agree too. Like my business and my accountant was like floored when she was doing, my bookkeeping for like the last few years. She's like, how did you grow through 2020? And I was like, one, I'm a hustler, so I figure out how to make money, but it was the extensions that really supported us because people they didn't want to take out their hair. It wasn't something they were willing to sacrifice. And I remember like even me, because I am an avid extension wearer, my hair is horrible. I was literally having my husband do like a move up on me, like at home, like opening the beads and just like sliding it up. Cause I'm like, I am not taking my hair out. And I think that's the way a lot of our clients were. We were shut down for 8 weeks in Chicago and then we're allowed to reopen. How long were you shut down for?
Only 4.
So you were very lucky, but still, clientele was not willing to give up their salon experience, even with the, with this virus going around and the fear of, getting sick. They're like, no, I will wear 3 masks.
They didn't care. Yep.
Yeah. To get my hair done. One of the things that has really exploded. So I, like you, started off with individual bonded, which is very labor intensive. Again, I don't really care. It's not my favorite for, and this is just me personally. Everyone has their own flavor and favorite, right?
Yep.
But the amount of like time you have to put into individual bonds. And I just felt like once the hair naturally sheds, the weight of that extension on that small section of hair, I never thought it was healthy for the hair, for me personally and for my clients. So when I also was introduced to the hand tied extension world, I was like, wow, this is really incredible. I didn't know how it was going to work. I also thought it was a scam. And then I was like, I'm just going to sign up for the class. What do I have to lose? I need something. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't even know how it was going to look. I'm like, how does this work? But it was like one of the best methods I've ever experienced for myself and my clients. But as this kind of sort of rolled out into our industry, it kind of exploded. And I feel like with everyone who started doing these different, hand-tied methods, because there's so many different ways you can lay the track and different beads and whatnot, there was a real which is really sad because this is one of the things I'm trying to change in the industry. There was a real competitiveness that kind of exploded along with the extensions in themselves. And I know I personally got bullied and threatened by a very, very big company. And I know that you've also experienced some like heat and some, kickback from some of the same people that I did. And I wanted you to kind of share your experience, because even though you experienced that sort of negative response and that negative behavior, you still continued to move forward. And a lot of people would not. They would probably get stuck in fear and choose not to pursue what they're pursuing. So do you kind of want to share your story? I'll share a little bit of mine too.
Yeah. We were with a big brand for a few years, and we were with their education, and I think that we just reached the part where we weren't getting anything from it anymore, my business partner and I. And so we left, and it was very amicable. There was nothing. It was like, we wish you the best of luck. Thanks for being a part of this. Done. It was great. And then, what do we do as artists? We want to learn. We're constantly wanting to learn. We want to, there's got to be another way to do this, because this specific method isn't a one size fits all. And I don't believe that exists. I think that it should be customized to each client. So we both decided to take education from another big brand. And that was where, when I joined them, it was very similar in that it was constantly another carrot was being dangled. In order for you to get any more out of it, you had to buy in for another thing. And it was constant. And I just decided, okay, this isn't for me. I had a little miscommunication with the owners of the company, and they weren't very kind about it, which their business, their rules, that's fine. So I walked away, but my business partner did not, because she was an educator for them. So we got to a point where they actually asked her to sign a contract that said she can only do that specific method in her business. And we both said, no, that's limiting. So after that, it was kind of like the push we needed. And we already had something in the works, like creating our own extension method. So that was kind of the push that we needed to move forward with it. Was like, okay, there is no such thing as one size fits all. They're coming after us because they're afraid. Afraid of what? I don't know. We're just two ladies from Phoenix coming up with a different way to put beads and string in hair. It's not that complicated. And I always say a hair extensions, especially the hand-tied version, it's a variation on a theme, right? It's all essentially the same thing, bead, string, and hair. So we were really shocked by it. And then the competitive nature of it, it was interesting, because they would kind of shove it down your throats that this is the only method, this is the best method. And if you're not doing this method, you're doing it wrong. And you're sacrificing your clients' scalp health and hair health. And how can you, do another one on top of this? And it was very, they really wanted to be, have that sense of exclusivity, which I understand. But at the same time, I'm like, there's more than enough for everybody. This is ridiculous. That's like saying there's only so many clients or there's only so much air. There's more than enough for everybody. So we decided to launch our own education method. And within that, we specifically do not have anyone sign NDAs or non-competes. And we do not have any rules where it comes to how they decide to move forward with that. We give you the foundation and we tell you to run with it. And I think that's scary to some of these big brands, because we're kind of saying, no, you don't have to do it that way. You can do it this way. And it's awesome. And I just don't do well with bullies. When we were involved with that first company, they were suing another company. It's madness. And nothing came of it. Nothing ever comes of it. They're just big bullies. I think they're all bark, and they might have a little bite, but I'm not a fan.
Yeah, they get caught up in a lack mentality, and then get caught up in fear, and get caught up in leading with their ego. And I think it's not even just the bullying of like, utilizing their lawyers and their money to send you, documents. Like the same company, one of the same companies that you're talking about, sent me a cease and desist when we were essentially both creating our extension line at the same time. And she sent me a cease and desist saying that she had a patent on what she was doing. And she didn't, but at that time. But, so for me, I was like, who is this? I didn't even know who she was. I never took her class. I had no idea who this person was until I received a message on Instagram. And then I received a letter, and then I sent it to my lawyers, and they're like, this is really written weird. I don't even think this was really done by a real lawyer. And I was like, it might not be, but I still have to protect myself. But it's not even the legal bullying. It's also the bullying online that really just kind of rubs me the wrong way. And it's the just plain being mean and cruel, and not having any compassion, empathy, or having any sense of emotional intelligence. It's literally just saying nasty things.
It's Mean Girls Club.
Mean Girls Club, exactly. Mm-hmm. And that's not one thing that I really am down with either. One of the things that we really focus on, and I don't think people do not understand what we do at Destroy the Hairdresser. No. There are so many misconceptions on what we teach. And even people are still coming after like us as a whole at Destroy the Hairdresser and bullying us online on Instagram. Yeah. And there's a couple people that are like really hitting it hard, and that will be for another podcast. But it's just like, if you were just to focus your time and attention on your own brand and growing your own business, and not focus attention in a negative way, putting down another company to make your company look better, because that's essentially what they're doing. They're utilizing negativity to make their brand stand out and look better. When in reality, like, everyone has their own way of doing something. Like the extensions, it's bead and string. Mm-hmm. As long as it stays in the hair and it doesn't damage the scalp, you can do it a million different ways, and who cares? Right. So one of the things that I'm super passionate about, and you too, with your students, is really eliminating leading and running your business out of fear. And that's what we really do at Destroy the Hairdresser. We teach people to really gain and grow their consciousness, emotional intelligence, so they're not leading out of fear, because nothing good happens from that place.
No, and nothing changes either.
Wondering how I keep my business systemized? It's all thanks to Kajabi. Kajabi is a versatile platform that allows me to keep everything in one place, like my website, courses, forms, email marketing, my podcast, and so much more. It's easily mine and my team's favorite software for salon owners. To try Kajabi for yourself for 30 days, visit the link in the show notes. No, nothing changes.
Fear keeps you stuck. Yeah.
Fear keeps you stuck and small, and it brings you very short bursts of fulfillment instead of long-term success and fulfillment. I mean, the person that we're talking about is very successful. She's leading her business out of fear, but I am assuming that her day-to-day is probably filled with a lot of reactivity, a lot of negative feelings, and a lot of probably anxiety and just worrying about everything else going on around her instead of focusing on what makes her happy.
That's no way to live. Like, it must suck.
Yeah.
To be that way. And we get a lot of DMs from people saying that certain extension companies, their marketing actually turned them off because it was bullying and because of the things she was saying about other people. And it's extremely passive aggressive, but it's very easy to spot. And it's sad. I think it's sad. I wish them nothing but the best. But I know for us, when we were with our first company, they completely shifted and changed their entire curriculum. They switched their whole business model, everything. But what I felt like was it was extremely fear-based. And I immediately was like, I don't want any part of this anymore. There was bullying involved. And I was like, that's it. I gotta get out of this. And I think there was a pretty big mass exodus. I'm pretty sure it was about 300 of us left.
Yeah. We all left at the same time. I don't think they were expecting that, but we as a community had a vessel together.
Exactly.
And a relationship. So all of us were kind of like talking behind the scenes, like saying, what do you think of this? What do you think of this? Comparing stories. And then we're like, this is kind of like a cult.
It really was.
It was very culty, which, is fine. Like there was a culture there, I guess. But I am forever grateful for that first company because like you said, it wasn't just the extensions. For me, that was not about the extensions. It was about the business, the mindset, and the growth there. And I had never experienced anything like that before. Well, it was like I was in DTH and then I was in this company at the same time. So it was like I was growing and catapulting like on a crazy dynamic because of both aspects at the same time. But then the more I got into coaching with DTH, I started to see what you're saying, where it was very fear-based.
Very fear. And I saw it and I didn't like it. And I stayed in it because I felt like I needed them. And that's part of it. I think with a lot of extension companies out there, they really do make you feel like you need their brand in order to be successful. When in reality, you're the brand. They need you more than you need them. And I mean, that's our biggest like philosophy behind our extension method is you are the brand. You are the one that your clients are coming to see, not us. They have no idea what the refinery method is. They have no idea. They don't care. All they care is that they're going to have happy, healthy hair and it's going to look beautiful. That's all they care about. So as soon as I realized, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm staying because I'm afraid. I gotta get out of here. This is ridiculous. But I don't regret it a minute I spent there or a dollar that I spent because it taught me so much. And I got to meet you and like this huge community. And, I know you were part of this. You guys created a group for us when we all left. So you created a new vessel for all of us to be a part of. And it was just so great. I'm like, this is fantastic. We can all stay in touch.
Because I think that was one of the major things that people were afraid of losing was the community. Yes. And I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just going to start a Facebook group. It was like me and then Natalia. And then I forgot who else. There was a couple others and we're like, okay, so we did it. And it ended up
fantastic.
It replaced that fear of losing the community and it replaced the loss of the community with the other company.
Yeah. And it's still up and running to this day. And I'm still part of it. And I still comment and somebody asks a question, everybody jumps in. It's fantastic.
And it's still growing. We get like people who want to join all the time. And I like have to go through and make sure they actually do hair.
Right.
Get a lot of people who don't, but yeah, I mean, it's still growing. I mean, I should utilize that group a little bit more, but I was just like,
I know I should too. And I don't, but there you go. There's something for us to do.
So you now have this extension education company. You're a coach. You're a salon owner. I think a lot of people out there want to be an educator, but one, they don't have the confidence. They don't know where to start. And they feel like that there's somebody already doing what they want to do. And in reality, you can't reinvent the wheel, right? Like there are so many other extension education companies out there. Like I have one, you have one.
Yeah.
Like,
and here we are supporting each other.
Exactly. I mean, because we're not in competition with each other.
No.
So what advice would you give somebody who is really wanting to become an educator or wanting to start their own thing, but is really stuck in that place of fear?
First of all, whatever you have to find what you're passionate about. And that's what you need to teach. So if you're passionate about extensions and you're passionate about hair or you're passionate about cutting, or you're passionate about business or whatever you feel like your strongest trait is, you need to lean into that and trust it. I say just go for it. Start small. I took a class from Gina Bianca years ago, and she was like, I used to teach for free just so that I could get myself out there and get good at it. Like, you just have to, there's only one way to do it. And that is, in the words of Kate Kent and Rachel, our coaches, just fucking do it. There's nothing to it, right?
Just fucking do it. This is going to be an explicit podcast.
Yeah, fuck it.
Yeah. Sometimes you just have to do it and just assume you're going to fail. Because I feel like that's the thing too. People are afraid they're going to fail.
You are. We have launched classes that didn't sell. It's same. And it's okay. And I kept saying, what's meant to be will be, and let's just keep moving forward. Baby steps. When you have a failure, from that failure is a seed for future success. And you really have to keep that in mind and not let your failures crush you and not let your imposter syndrome take over, because that's exactly what it's doing as soon as you're aware of your active system. And the number one thing that I would say if you want to be an educator is 100% get a coach. Mm-hmm. You need a mentor and a guide to help you, because we both had one when we did all this, and it was invaluable. I don't know if I could have done it without Sid David. I mean,
I would not be where I am today without David. Not even close. Yeah. He changed my life.
Yep. They're still changing my life.
I know. Same.
Because we still have coaches, even though we're coaches. And I really think that it's important. Coaching for me was that extra push that gave me the confidence, and having somebody in my corner saying, just do it. So what if you fail? What's the worst that could happen? Are you going to die? No.
Sometimes
it feels like it, and you throw up in your mouth a lot, but that's okay. You have to be uncomfortable in order to grow.
I think too, with just the shift in perception and the growth of yourself as you go through the process. Like, if you can learn that failure is just finding the next step and the best way to move forward so you can pivot. And I feel like failure is kind of freeing, because once you can learn how to fail and become comfortable with failure, then you're like, okay, just like pick up the pieces. Sometimes we cry a little, or,
yes, we do.
You pick up the pieces, you're like, okay, on to the next thing. And then the next thing, and then the next thing. And then finally you're like, okay, well, that didn't work. It wasn't a failure. It just didn't work. So I'm going to do something else or try something different.
Course correct. Let's move on. Yeah. I also know that sometimes failure is a way of redirecting you to the path that is probably better. Like, sometimes we try things and we make them harder than they need to be. And sometimes you fail because you need to simplify and move. You just need to turn right or turn left just a little bit. And then the floodgates open. You're like, oh, but you never would have found that without failing first. So it's so important, and don't be afraid of it. It's okay. It's going to happen. And then once you fail at it, then you're like, all right, well, I already failed. So moving on. Okay. The worst happened. Okay.
Yeah. And I think too, a lot of people do what they think they should be doing, and it's not their path. And I think failure is also a spotlight to that. Like, this isn't what you're supposed to be doing. This is never going to work for you. So let's do what you really want to do. And I talk to my students about this all the time, because, kind of going off topic a little bit, there is this like unsaid path that hairstylists are supposed to take in order to be successful. Work at a commission salon, rent, maybe open a suite, and then open your own salon. When in reality, not everyone should have a salon suite. Not everyone should be a salon owner. And there's so many other really cool ways that you can make a name for yourself, find financial freedom, and create a different way to have your career that's unique to you without doing all the things that you're quote unquote supposed to do. So,
yeah, we all get caught up in the should do's instead of the could do's. And like, I thought I should go to a 4-year university immediately after high school. So I did for 3 years and wasted thousands of dollars.
Yes, I did the same.
I didn't want to be doing this. This is stupid. And I was like, I don't want to do this. I want to do hair. And I remember my mom, who's a teacher, was so upset because she, in her own words, is an educational snob. Why can't you just go back and get your degree? I said, for what? To teach high school? I don't want to teach high school. I don't like high schoolers.
Yeah.
And now I have kids, but
I was thinking about, I was going to go to school to be a high school art teacher. That's what I wanted to do. And I was in a class, and in this class, this teacher was so boring, and I fell asleep every single class. And finally, he's like, you should not be here. He's like, you need to drop this class because you're wasting your time. And I was like,
thank God for him though, right?
I'm like, yes, I am. And I did. I was like, okay, this is not for me, obviously.
It was a waste of, I learned a lot. I failed at college, which is okay. I learned a lot and I got a lot of growth out of it, even though I was very young. But we think we should. And you know what? You listed all the steps. I went through all the steps. I did all the steps, but those steps felt right to me. And I know because I just left my accountant's office before I got on this call with you. And she told me, yeah, you're rare. There aren't a lot of you out there. Usually, she says, I don't do the books for hairstylists anymore because they're a mess and they're unorganized and they're just not what they should be doing. And I was like, okay, because not everybody needs to be a salon owner. Not everybody should be a suite owner. Sometimes it's okay to be a commissioned stylist. If you just want to go to work and do your art and make money, then that's what you should do. And there's another way for you to make money on the side. The opportunities are endless.
Yeah. And salon owners need to get on board with that. I think that's the problem that pushes people into rental is that they try to trap artists, and you cannot trap you cannot trap an artist, and two, you can't trap a person. So just let your stylist have freedom, because that's normally why they leave anyway. So if you let them do things that are not, in your salon, let them try different things, let them charge what they want, let them have days off, let them pick their schedule. Let them not come in if they don't have clients. Just give them freedom and they will stay and help them grow.
And if they leave, it's okay.
Yeah, exactly.
It's okay. And we take all of that, all of the principles from DTH, and we apply it to the next step. For us was an extension method education. And we do the same thing. And we say, we're not here to control you. We're not here to tell you how to, we're here to give you the foundations. And we said this in our very first class. We said, and it's up to you to run with it. You want to switch this? Do it. You want to switch this? Do it. We don't know what's best for your client. Only you know that. Mm-hmm. You're the artist here. You need to be in control and you need to have freedom. And I wish more people adopted these philosophies, because micromanaging everything is exhausting.
It's
exhausting. And bullying has to be exhausting too. Yes.
Yeah,
it's all exhausting. Like, what are you doing? Stop it. Who cares?
So what advice do you have for somebody who might be in a situation where they feel trapped by a company?
First of all, the first thing to do is to reach out, because there's a lot of us out there. A lot of us. It's not just you and me. There's so many of us who have extension education and who don't do those things. So the first thing would be research and reach out, because there's a lot of people out there who are willing to answer your questions and help you find the right fit for you. Honestly, my first answer to that would be leave, but that's not going to be the best answer for a lot of people. So you got to do what's best for you. But if it doesn't align with your core values and beliefs, you're never going to be happy, no matter where you are. If you're stuck in it with an extension brand, or if you're stuck in a salon that you're not happy at, if it's not aligning with your core beliefs and values, you're never going to be happy.
And I think that's one thing people don't really sit down and look at and want to be self-aware about, is what their values are, what their core values are, their mission statement, their vision, their purpose. These are all things that are going to keep you, I don't want to say motivated, because motivation is fleeting and is something that doesn't last, but it's going to keep you in that place of wanting to push forward.
Yeah. And it's going to keep you grounded. And it's going to make it a lot easier for you to shove off the bullies and move past the fear. And, you know, when we left that first big company, that was the biggest thing for me. They do not align with my core values and beliefs anymore. Like, this is not who I want to be. So I don't want to be a part of it. It was almost like I got to get away as soon as possible. And that's kind of how I felt with the other one too. I was like, oh, so, you know, when I left, when my business partner and I first moved to a suite, it was because the owner of the salon, who was this wonderful woman, we left on really great terms, but it didn't align with our beliefs and core values anymore. And I said, we can't be here anymore. And she's like, you're right. And so off we went.
Love that. And that's nice that you guys parted on good terms, because that's, again, something that is not, I mean, I don't want to say it's not common, but
it's not common.
It isn't.
Not in our industry. It's not common at all.
Which that needs to change.
It does. And she was very sweet and gracious. And, you know, we're still in contact with her. She's a lovely person. She was one of those, probably shouldn't have been a salon owner. Just, she got burnt out and she dropped the ball. And it was okay. So we moved on and everything was, but you know what else happened? We weren't the only ones. I think there was 12 of us that ended up leaving within a year.
That's so crazy.
It was pretty brutal. And I felt really bad because she's a really nice person, but we all felt the same way.
It's not about being nice when you're a business owner. You honestly, you can't be nice sometimes.
No, you can't. And it's very true.
It's not that you're being mean, but it's like you are the leader and you have to make sure that things stay in line, standards, that the business is run properly. And sometimes that means, you know, not being the nicest person or what people think that are not nice. Yeah.
Well, it sometimes means telling people what they don't really want to hear or calling them out on something they know they kind of did wrong.
Hard.
Yeah. And it's hard and it sucks and it's uncomfortable, but you get better at it. The more you do it, the better you get with everything.
I love it. Okay. So where can people find your education and how can they sign up for a class? What does that process look like?
Everything can be found on our website, which is refinery208salon.com. And our Instagram is refinery208salon or the Refinery Method on Insta.
Perfect. Thank you so much for being
all the information. I am so happy that I got a chance to do this with you.
I know, me too. Thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it. You have no idea. And the conversation was so good.